Welcome back to A Dog's Life in Liechtenstein, and here you join us as we get off the train after travelling from Vienna to Prague. As you can see, Jacob has joined us for a bit, and both boys were keen to get to the nearest tree. That happened to be right outside the railway station. Time for a very quick run and then off to find our hotel. Check-in was painless and the staff was super friendly to the dogs, going as far as gifting them toys. We are finding that dog-friendly hotels tend to be friendly in general. Once settled into our room, we went out into the city to explore. It was mid-December, so very early dark, and was cold, but it was just before Christmas, so we found a city that was friendly and alive with lights, and after Vienna, unusually happy and lively people. So why were we in Prague? Well, Rainer had a conference he needed to attend. We were going to be in Vienna anyway at that time, and because the distance between Vienna and Prague was a reasonable one for the dogs to travel by train, Rainer asked if I would like to tag along. Prague? Just before Christmas? Oh yes, was my answer. I certainly wasn't disappointed by Prague, not by its gorgeous buildings, the variety of its restaurants, museums, the prices and quality of food, or the friendliness of the service. Its moderate size also means it's a city that is easy to navigate on foot. Speaking of gorgeous buildings and restaurants, Rainer and I couldn't resist giving this one a closer look, although we ended up going somewhere much simpler for dinner. I just love its Art Nouveau interior, especially those chandeliers. Instead, we ate a delicious, more traditional meal of fire-roasted pork, cabbage, and a local dumpling purchased from our friendly street vendor. Back at the hotel, Rainer wanted to relax before the intense conference days ahead of him. But armed with their new toys, Arthur and Jacob had a different idea of how to spend the evening. And to make matters worse, one of the toys was a squeaky one. Clearly, there was some pent-up energy that needed to be exercised away before bedtime. Fortunately, we had a park within walking distance. For the next 2 days, I amused myself in Prague, but filmed little as I went to museums and churches where I either couldn't take the dogs or use my camera. And one afternoon, I used to hunt down a couple of elusive Christmas presents, and the dogs stayed in our room. But don't worry, the dogs weren't neglected for walks, and each evening they had a visit to the park. Just a few days ago, it was Holocaust Memorial Day, so it's very fitting I can show you a rather somber visit I made to the Prague Jewish Quarter. The area contains many historical buildings, including 6 synagogues and this most remarkable old Jewish cemetery. It all only survived Nazi occupation, as Hitler wanted to preserve it all as a museum of an extinct race. The cemetery dates from the early 15th to the late 18th centuries. Because the Jewish community was restricted to where they could bury their deceased, there was a critical lack of space. and their solution was to place soil over old graves, and then new burials took place on top. Then the old stones were elevated to the higher level. In some places, there exists 12 layers of burial, and that's the reason why the stones are so densely crowded. The grey day may have helped, but it definitely had a special atmosphere. Next to the cemetery is the Pinkus Synagogue, which is the second oldest surviving synagogue in Prague. But what is truly significant is that the walls are covered with the names of the about 78,000 Czech Jewish victims of the Holocaust. They are arranged in communities, and each name includes a birth and death date. When you see wall after wall, room after room of names so tightly packed, it's very sombering. Now to show you something on a much lighter note. As the host nation of the conference, one evening the Czech Republic hosted a gala dinner for all the delegates, and partners were invited. So that meant dressing up nicely. It was held in a hall in Prague Castle, so we were lucky enough to be able to enter the castle complex after hours. During the dinner, we were entertained by two rather good local artists and band. After the conference, we met with two other delegates to see a little of Prague before heading back to Vienna. They walked with us to the famous medieval Charles Bridge that crosses the Vltava River. It's incredible that the first stone for the bridge was laid in July 1357. The bridge offers good views across to Prague Castle on the hill opposite. Unfortunately, the two guys had to leave us at this point as they had flights to catch. So now it was just Rainer, the boys and I to continue across to the other side. The bridge has 3 points that, if you touch them, according to legend, will bring you luck of some kind. One will grant a wish, a second will ensure your return to Prague, and a third, if you stroke this dog, will give you a long-lasting, loyal relationship. For the rest of the day, the four of us walked for miles, exploring streets and bridges, the occasional shop or cafe. So many parts of Prague reminded me of Vienna. Can you see the similarities? During our walk, we came across a park that was the home of the most peacocks I've ever seen in one place. Rainer stayed outside with the two dogs, who would have loved to have chased them in a heartbeat, so I could go in and admire them. Hello, sweetie. Aren't you beautiful? To prove I was in Prague, I managed to persuade Rainer to take the camera once. Then he promptly gave it back. But he did later agree to a romantic couples shot with the river and the castle behind us. It's a miracle. But in a blink of an eye, he was gone. The next morning it was back on the train for all of us for the long journey, first to Vienna and then to Liechtenstein. Once back home, it was work for Rainer. Sometimes on the days that he takes Arthur to work, if he has the time and the weather is suitable, he likes to walk to work. It takes about an hour, so then Arthur is happy to sleep and not be too active in the office afterwards. How many people can say they have such a lovely commute to work? We are lucky to live here. Finally, I want to give a thank you and a shout out to another YouTuber, Trevor Colt. He's a British decorated ex-military man who's dedicated to helping veterans. His channel is worth checking out as he gives straight-talking commentary on what's current in the news. He's also very generous to use his platform to support other YouTubers, as he did my channel last week. Due to his call out, I went from 87 subs to over 350. So thank you to all my new subscribers and welcome to A Dog's Life. Your support has given me new motivation. So it's onwards and upwards, and see you again soon.